Hello, grade 7. How are you? I wish that you're doing great. Tell me about the previous lesson. Did you enjoy watching it or not yet? Okay, we were speaking about acid rains and we know about the neutralization and acid rain, right? Today we are going to start a new chapter in chemistry, which is rocks and soils. We know the meaning of rocks and we know what the soil is, but the question is, how are they formed? So, let's start today speaking about it. You know what, in grade 7? We live on a rocky planet that spins on its axis once a day, as we know, and moves in an orbit around a star, which is the Sun, at 29 kilometers per second. So, how did the star, the Earth, and its movement come about? Scientists believe that it began with a huge explosion. It began with what? A huge explosion. From the Big Bang to the Sun. Let's know what this Big Bang. Okay, scientists believe that the moment the universe came into existence, it was an extremely hot, tiny white spot with an enormous mass. With what? An enormous mass. It expanded rapidly in an explosion that has been named the Big Bang about 14 billion years ago. As the universe expanded, it cooled down, and the atoms of the first elements formed. They were what? The first elements that formed were hydrogen and helium. These atoms were drawn together by the force of, very good, by the force of gravity to form huge gas. These huge gas are called clouds. In the previous slide, you would see the picture of the tiny white spot, which were extremely hot. And as we said, then they formed clouds. In these clouds of gas, the force of gravity brought some of the atoms even closer together. So the atoms now, they are what? Closer together until they formed huge spheres of hot gas. Huge spheres of what? Hot gas. Inside each sphere, the force of gravity drew the atoms closer. They drew the atoms closer, still until the temperature pressure became so great. The process here called nuclear fusion took place. Here there is a process called what? Nuclear fusion took place. In this process, some of the hydrogen atoms were converted into helium atoms, and large amounts of energy were released, exactly like the picture down. Large amounts of energy were released. The energy escaped from the surface of the gas spheres as light and heat, and the spheres became what we now call stars. It became what? Stars. Okay, grade 7. You know what? When a star has used up all its supply of hydrogen to make helium, as we said in the nuclear fusion, it makes other elements by nuclear fusion. These elements include carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chloride, potassium, calcium, chromium, and iron. The star may then swell up and form red giant star, then release gas and dust as a nebula around it. You see this in this picture down one. This is the nebula around it, okay? And shrink to form a white dwarf star. Very large stars do not release gas and dust gradually. They do what? They explode, forming a supernova. Okay, you see the picture in the middle? This is a supernova. And shoot out gas and dust over a wide region of space. The conditions in these very large stars allow elements with larger atoms to be formed. Now we have got elements with larger atoms formed after the explosion. These elements include what? Nickel, copper, zinc, silver, tin, iodine, platinum, gold, mercury, and lead. Okay, the first stars that formed in the universe are called first generation stars. So we have the first generation stars, which are the first stars that formed in the universe. And the gases and dust, which made from the newly formed elements, from these first red giants and supernova formed a second set of stars called second generation stars, which is about these dust and gases. These behaved just like the original stars and produced more of the same elements. In the second generation stars, it produces more of the same elements. The gas and dust from them also spread out through space. They spread out through space, these gas and dust. The next set of stars is called the third generation stars, is the set to which our sun belongs. If you look down to these diagrams, you will find the first generation stars, the second generation stars, and the third generation stars. The formation of the solar system. We all know the solar system, right? Very good. Yes, it's down in the picture. Scientists in grade 7 believe that about 4.6 billion years ago, the sun and the solar system formed from a huge cloud of gas and dust. Like it was all of it about just a huge cloud of gas and dust. They think an exploding star nearby made the cloud begin to rotate. As the cloud turned, it formed a disk. As it turned, it formed a disk. Hydrogen and helium in the cloud collected at the center and formed a star, which is the sun. The dust particles moving in the disk around the sun began colliding into each other and sticking together. Now they did what? They stick together. Over time, they formed larger and larger lumps of rock. Some became the first four planets moving around the sun, and others became the centers of four gas giant planets. And that's it, grade 7, about our lesson for today. We know about the Big Bang and we know about the formation of the solar system. I want you to focus in the video and then to get back to your book and to look at the pictures that you have got to help you and do your homework in your workbook, page 53. Good luck until we see each other.